So what is arthritis? Arthritis is basically when there are two bones anywhere in your body that start rubbing against each other. And the rubbing, or that pressure, that friction, is really what begins to gradually wear away on cartilage at the end of the bone. So if I had a bone and another bone on top of it, and the two bones rubbing against each other, the cartilage, the smooth lining, the gel lining on the end of either one of those bones can start to wear away. And when that starts to wear away, what it does is it exposes nerve endings at the end of the bone underneath that cartilage, and those nerve endings get exposed. In your knee, for example, you have about 1,000 nerve endings per square inch on the surfaces of your bone. So a little bit of friction on those exposed nerve endings is kind of like taking a brick and rubbing it on your skin. You've got a lot of nerve endings in your skin, you rub a brick in it, the skin will get red and irritated, it might even be a little bit painful. That's exactly what is happening with arthritis. As that progresses and starts to get a little bit worse, with arthritis, the cartilage begins to wear away even more. There's no bone in your body that's actually smooth and completely flat. Bones have all of these little ridges and crevices in them. And what will start to happen is, as the cartilage wears away, which is what made the bony surface flat and smooth, as that cartilage wears away, then you get all of the ridges and the exposures of the crevices and everything, and the bone will start to kind of catch and get stuck. As arthritis progresses, that's what people start to feel, is this catching, or not only pain, but this catching and cracking and popping sensation, because again, these ridges and these crevices are exposed as the cartilage is worn away. So the purpose of the cartilage in your joint is to really prevent arthritis. We all start off with cartilage in our joints. Everywhere where two bones come against each other, they're all cushioned or surrounded by this cartilage at the end. But certain things speed up the degeneration of that, or the wearing away of it. And so that's the purpose of the cartilage, is to keep the joint smooth, rubbing against each other, nerve endings protected so that there's no pain, no exposure, and basically to almost like lubricate the joint. So what brings on the friction, and it happens over time, it can be a specific traumatic event that brings on a lot of friction, but generally what happens with arthritis is that it develops over an extended period of time. That friction starts out because things got tight around the joint surface got closed. Typically there should be space in between the bones, and the bones should be able to slide and glide without a whole lot of pressure on that cartilage or on that lubricant. But what will happen is things around that joint get tight, it closes the joint up, and then the bones start to rub on each other and everything starts to progress from there. There's really some common signs or symptoms that people that are experiencing even the very beginning of arthritis would experience, and that would be anywhere in your body. But if we were to look at just in the knee, for example, you would start to experience some stiffness and some tightness. Typically that's something that we see in somebody that's active or somebody that's inactive. Let's say I go for a 5-mile run, later on in the day my knee or my leg is stiff or tight. That, believe it or not, is a little bit of a warning sign that there's now more pressure in the joint, more potential for friction on that cartilage and that meniscus, and more wearing of it over time. So stiffness is that early warning sign, that check engine light that's going off that tells you there is some pressure on that meniscus, on that cartilage, that you want to make sure that you get looked at. It is very possible to prevent arthritis from getting worse, but you can't reverse anything that's happened. So the earlier that you start addressing those symptoms, those signs and symptoms that I just mentioned, the stiffness, the aches, the swelling, etc., and prevent it from getting to a point where you've actually killed off the nerve endings, the earlier that you start to address that, the easier it is to prevent it from getting worse and stop it from having a negative effect on you. Because the last thing we want is for anybody to end up needing to have a joint replacement or a knee replacement. So again, you can prevent it from getting worse, and that's really where physical therapy comes in. We can help you to be active, we can help you to have this arthritis in your joint, but have it not affect anything. And how do we do that? We make sure the capsule is doing its job. We make sure the ligaments are able to do as much work as they can. We make sure that the muscles are strong enough to make up for what the ligaments don't do, and that they stop all of that slippage from occurring. Muscle can be strengthened if strengthened appropriately, correctly, and in the right balance of each other, and getting your hip muscles along with your quads and your hamstrings. We can make your knee be just as stable as it ever was and undo the further effects that any arthritis would have. We can make sure then that muscles are nice and loose and stretched out the way that they need to be, and we can most importantly make sure that your kneecap is tracking the way that it should, and all of that works together to stop all of that slippage, which ultimately is what causes the pain. Seeing one of our expert physical therapists, getting everything assessed, figuring out if it's arthritis, and then getting you doing the appropriate things for it, and we can definitely help you to get it under control and get back to living life and being able to do the things you want to do without arthritis causing you to have problems.